Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's time to begin our third webinar here in the week of webinars that we're doing this week leading up to the Wi-Fi Trek Conference in October. The guest organizations that are presenting in these webinars this week are sponsors at the conference. So when you're there at the conference, make sure you stop by their booth, get to meet them, and learn all about their products and services that they offer to help you build, implement, deploy, maintain, and manage great Wi-Fi networks. My name is Tom Carpenter. I'm the CTO at CWNP. And today we have Dan Cavazos with us from Ventev. And they're going to be talking to us about going beyond coverage and capacity, giving us aesthetically pleasing Wi-Fi deployments. So if you think about it, we want to have a great design. We want to have a fabulous performing wireless network. But you know what? It's good for it to look right in our corporate environment as well, and to meet whatever corporate standards that might exist for design inside of the facilities and the various organizations that are deploying these networks. So they're going to be talking to us about that today. Now, before we get into the meat of this presentation, I do want to remind you that Wi-Fi Trek is just a couple of months away now, and it's coming up in the middle of October. If you haven't registered yet, you'll want to make sure that you go to conferences.cwnp.com. That's conferences.cwnp.com in order to get your registration in. We have great pre-conference training classes lined up for CWNA, CWAP, CWDP, CWSP, and even CWS and CWT. So all of that's there just before the conference starts for 3 days, and then the conference itself. You don't want to miss it. It's in San Diego this year. So make sure you go to conferences.cwnp.com in order to learn more and get your registration in. With that, we're going to be hearing from Dan today about how they can help us deploy a wireless network that not only works great, but it also looks great. So with that, Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you quite kindly, Tom, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. Also, a big thank you to CWNP for the opportunity to be a part of this awesome webinar. We are all very excited to talk Wi-Fi with you today. So as Tom stated, we are going to be covering going beyond coverage and capacity, aesthetically pleasing Wi-Fi deployments. And as we get started into the webinar, I want to give you a quick understanding of who Ventev is. You may or may not know who Ventev is, and it's always great to give a good introduction to who our company is and what we do. And the first thing is we're actually formerly known as TeraWave. So if you've been in the Wi-Fi industry as long as we have, which is over 15 years, and you may have heard of the name TeraWave in the past. And that is actually our old brand, and we have rebranded as Ventev a few years ago. So we are TeraWave and now known as Ventev. And what we do is we offer a comprehensive ecosystem of products, as you see on the screen, which include antennas, enclosures, mounting, cable and accessories, and power systems to deploy Wi-Fi. So there's kind of a saying, whenever you pick your radio, then select Ventev for your ecosystem around the radio. So whether it's coverage issues, capacity, security, protection, or power, we do all of that. And today's focus is going to be specifically aesthetics. So wireless equipment is going to be able to blend inconspicuously into any indoor or outdoor environment. So some quick facts about Ventev. We are the industry leader when it comes to third-party Wi-Fi antennas, enclosures, and ecosystem accessories, and been doing this again for over 15 years. Our products help improve the performance. They help you ease the installation and enhance the aesthetics of the Wi-Fi networks in any type of environment. And we are also an authorized ecosystem partner for Cisco, Aruba, and a variety of other manufacturers. So we like to keep things vendor agnostic, but we are certified and a preferred solution partner with Cisco. We also are a Edge partner and certified with Aruba Networks. We are vendor agnostic, like I said, and we enjoy working with all manufacturers and all engineers, no matter what, whether you're a VAR and or a solution architect or network engineer at an end user, we can help support your network no matter what OEM you choose. So let's get into the meat here. Lately, we've seen a trend in the industry where people, companies, end users, they want to hide or conceal Wi-Fi access points. So the feedback we're hearing from our customers is that architects, facilities teams, are coming to these IT directors and IT teams, network engineers, and telling them, when you deploy the next network, when you do a refresh, or when you do a new build out, we do not want to see the Wi-Fi infrastructure, which it can include the access point and or cabling or antennas. So that is going to be the focus of our conversation today. We're going to share with you some case studies and some of the solutions that Ventev has created to support this trend in the industry. So let's get right into it. Why are aesthetics important? So Wi-Fi has changed over the past few years, 15 years. So providing coverage and capacity is no longer enough. Many deployments, they must offer high performance Wi-Fi for high density environments, and they also want it to blend in and make it look aesthetic. So visible Wi-Fi infrastructure blemishes interior and also exterior environments. As these access points get bigger, because there's more radios and more antennas built into them, they are a sight for sore eyes sometimes, or some facilities and architects seem to view it that way. And though that the coverage is necessary as client devices grow on one person, we have come to see this trend grow and grow. And so here's some of the products that we're going to talk about today. The vertical markets that we cover are vast. And this aesthetically pleasing conversation is not just happening inside buildings for corporate headquarters. It's actually for hospitals, universities, office spaces. We've even had stadiums, LPV, transportation centers, and of course, resorts and theme parks, hotel spaces that require these solutions. So, these are high density environments. And these antennas, enclosures, and mounts you're going to see today cover indoor and outdoor. And they could be concealed, completely hidden, or just reduce the form factor and create a smaller form factor solution. And they can also be painted to blend in with the environment as well. So let's start with indoor as we go into the product set here. One of my favorite products to talk about is what you see in the screen here is the Junctionbox Wi-Fi antenna. This Junctionbox Wi-Fi antenna is patent pending, and it's an extremely unique solution. And I love to talk about it because we took a electrical junction box and we embedded a directional patch antenna inside this box. And this mounts flush into the drywall or in the ceiling. It's a 2.4 and 5 gigahertz dual band 6 dBi directional antenna. The great thing about this solution is that when you deploy it, it gives you a almost completely hidden solution. And with this aesthetically pleasing requirement that some companies are asking, it really fits the bill. And the awesome thing about this solution is that you can deploy it lower in the drywall or higher up in the drywall or in the ceiling. And you can actually select with a articulation point we built into it up to 45 degrees of articulation where you can direct the signal pattern to. So it gives you a really awesome solution. It's concealed and it blends in right with the environment, providing you the high density coverage that you will need in the office environment. So let's talk about a case study that we've deployed into a university. So this is a University of Kentucky, and they deployed our Junctionbox Wi-Fi antenna, and they did not do it on the side of their walls. They actually did it in the ceilings. If you can imagine a university auditorium classroom space, as you see in the photo on the top left, University of Kentucky needed to ensure classrooms and auditoriums had the capacity required for these high densities of students, and they also were highly concerned with aesthetics. A lot of the universities we work with, especially the universities that are legacy universities, legacy campuses, they have 100-year-old buildings, and they do not want to disturb the aesthetics of the building. So this is a perfect example. Because the walls were steel reinforced, antennas had to be placed in the ceilings, and they did not want to have anything hanging above them in view. So in these 25-foot by 25-foot classrooms, the 3-gang Junctionbox antenna provided the coverage and the capacity needed. And what the engineers decided to do in this deployment is they actually divided the auditorium in 12 coverage zones. And that minimized the number of connections on each AP. And they maximized the bandwidth available for each client device. If you can imagine the school students, they may have multiple devices on their person. They could have a laptop, of course. a smartwatch and a phone or multiple phones and or other connected devices. So this is a high density area. And they also use a variety of solutions in there. So in the ceilings, we're doing a case study on the Junctionbox, but they also use 10 patch antennas mounted on the side of the walls with co-location mounts. And these co-location mounts are featured on our website, and it's a very common solution that we sell. And but for the purpose of this case study, the Junctionbox is a highlight, and I think it solves a great problem with aesthetics while still providing high density coverage. We're continuing our conversation indoors. The small form factor antenna is a very popular solution, and this also installs in the ceiling, typically in drop-down ceilings, is where we're seeing this deployed. The mount allows it to penetrate through the ceiling tile with a very small hole, and it's a threaded bushing and nut. So the access point actually stays up above the ceiling tile. We have a bracket that goes above the ceiling tile where the AP sits. So it's not, of course, sitting on just laying on the tile. This antenna gives you a smaller form factor. Instead of seeing the access point in the ceiling, you can actually see just a small antenna. I like to call this and refer this to as the candy bar antenna because it's about the size of a candy bar. There are two different versions. There are a 2 and 2.5 dBi Omni antenna, and there's also a 4 and a 6 dBi higher gain Omni antenna for this solution. So it's an awesome solution. Reduces the form factor size of the access point in a traditional ceiling deployment. We've done some case studies with ceiling deployments, and this is another high density coverage. We see the trend coming, and we're meeting that challenge every day. We actually have a high density antenna. It's a 2.4 and 5 gigahertz high density, high gain 10 and 11 dBi antenna. And this mounts just like that smaller antenna that you saw before in the previous slide. It mounts directly flush with the drop down ceiling tile. And the unique thing about this antenna is that it actually has plenum rated leads. The requirement for this Midwestern University for this case study was that they had to maintain their building code and have plenum cable in the spaces above the ceiling tile. So we were able to solve that challenge with our high density antenna, and it actually comes installed with plenum rated jumper cables or leads. So this was a high gain, it's a narrow beamwidth antenna, and allowed the engineers to segment users in smaller cells to maximize bandwidth and provide for optimal Wi-Fi coverage. And it also gives you an inconspicuous in-ceiling tile mount to help improve the aesthetics. And it pretty much resembles a Wi-Fi access point up there, and it's just flush as possible to the ceiling grid. This is my favorite solution to talk about. The next one is called a raised access floor antenna. We were awarded the patent on this this past year, and this is a very high profile product for us. It's getting a lot of buzz in the industry. When you think about Wi-Fi, and the traditional deployment method is on the ceiling from a top-down approach. So this is actually reversing that methodology. And what we've done is, you're going to see a case study here after the slide, but what we've done is we've taken a raised flooring system by Hayworth, is the manufacturer of the flooring system, and we've developed a concrete tile with an antenna that's embedded into the tile. It's a dual band 3 and 6 dBi gain antenna. It is omnidirectional, and it's a 2 by 2 or 24 inch by 24 inch concrete galvanized tile that is for the galvanized steel flooring. So this is a very specialized antenna. It's unique. It solves a challenge, but it installs in the flooring, and it gives you a completely hidden Wi-Fi solution. You know what's great about this solution is not only does it provide aesthetics, but it's great for management. If somebody's managing this network, they no longer have to go grab a ladder and block off the area. They actually will just remove the carpet. It has 4 screws, and you're able to pull up that tile and manage the access point right underneath there. So incredible, innovative solution by Ventev. Again, this is one of my favorites to talk about. And let's talk a little bit more in depth about the solution and what the Fortune 500 company in Silicon Valley that we worked with to deploy it. So this is a brand new construction. Typically, we are engaged in conversation from a architecture level for this type of deployment because of the cabling being routed underneath the flooring. So we have done retrofits before, but again, it's a very more of a pre-sales approach or pre-design approach with the architecture of the companies that we work with. But the reason why they decided to go this route is, one, they had glass walls. So the glass walls you're not able to mount anything to that wall. So that was out of the picture. The other thing is the ceilings are extremely high. So, they're above 30 feet in height. So where you talk about Wi-Fi, you can't just clip that antenna, the access point and or antenna on that high ceiling. You're going to have degradation in performance because of the free space path laws. And so this very limited solutions that we had to work with are very limited mounting situations. So what we did is we developed this antenna, and it is patented, and it installs right in the flooring system. It took us 3 years to develop and get approved. It is approved by the FCC. It's a wonderful product. And we deployed this, and they deployed over 1 million square feet of campus space at this company. So incredible solution, extremely innovative. And it just goes to show you of our engineering capability and what we do with antennas, and why we continue to be the leaders in Wi-Fi RF antennas. We're still in indoor, and let's continue the conversation in the indoor space. With an indoor space, we get a lot of requests for ceiling tile enclosures. And these have been around for extremely long time in the industry, and some people use them, some don't. There are some benefits to them, and one of them is aesthetics, because it gives you a more seamless look. But it also gives you a security feature because it has a lock and hinge door that allows you to manage the access point with ease. It also secures the access point while enabling it to blend inconspicuously in the environment in the drop-down ceiling grid. So customers approach us and they ask us for these solutions. So whether you're a VAR or whether you're a network engineer at an end user, this solution is a great way to protect your AP, to help you ease the management of it if you need to access the CAT cable. It also gives you security because it actually blocks off any ports while it's deployed in this enclosure system. The great news about this solution is that door that you're seeing in the middle photo is actually removable. So when you do your next refresh, all you do is buy a door replacement. You don't have to go buy a brand new enclosure. So the return on investment on this solution is typically after your second or third deployment. So it's a great solution. Again, security, concealment, and aesthetics all in one with the ceiling deployment. The last thing I want to note on the ceiling tile enclosure is in hospital settings, there's requirements that the facilities and IT teams need to maintain. And these are known as infectious disease control regulations. And these infectious disease control regulations, whenever you are managing an access point and you have to lift up a ceiling tile, that ceiling tile breeds bacteria above that space when you open that space of that plenum space. And because of that, you actually have to put in a ticket with the facilities team to manage your access point if you need to go above the tile. So what this solution also does, it helps maintain infectious disease control standards in hospital settings by blocking off that space above the enclosure, and you're still able to manage the access point without having to lift up that tile. And so it's IT teams in hospital settings love this solution because it enables them to get to manage their network more efficiently and reduce the time with ticketing with facilities. So wonderful solution. These come in many different flavors, from flush mounts or to the right with what we call a cap, where you can't even see the access point. And so again, we have different varieties. There's also a solution where if your ceiling tile is beveled, we have a beveled solution as well. So great installation. It makes it simple and quick. And only one person can actually do the install, or it takes only a single person to do that. So what if your deployment is in a hard cap ceiling? That's another situation we come across, is how do I make one, the mounting work, and two, how do I keep it aesthetically pleasing in a hard ceiling? So this could be drywall, it could be hard cap, but we've developed this flush mount solution, and it's pretty much as flush as you can get. If you see on the right photo, the below the ceiling is very thin, and this is just a cover that goes on this enclosure. And the enclosure, you would just cut out the drywall above, and it would sit inside that cutout space and mounts flush, and you're able to mount your access point with a T-bar universal mount that's built into it. And so it gives you a really clean look in a drywall ceiling area, and it's just a phenomenal solution. It's great for deploying and maintaining that aesthetically pleasing environment indoors. And here's another product set that we offer that's very popular and very simple. It's access point covers and access point caps. So these covers, I like to call them bubble enclosures. They kind of resemble a bubble almost. And the bubble enclosures, or the AP covers, have a mounting bracket that comes with the solution. And you can mount your AP into a wall or a ceiling and just place that cover over it. I've deployed these with customers in auditoriums. I've deployed them in outdoors. I've deployed them in gymnasiums. They're very popular. Every time a K through 12 customer calls and they want to protect that access point in a gymnasium, kids think of these things as target practice sometimes. So it's a great way to protect and also conceal the access point. You can also paint these covers with non-metallic paint. On the bottom solution, when it comes to the AP caps, we have some solutions for the Cisco models where the AP cap is just a plastic cap that goes right over the access point. The unique thing about this cap is, one, not only is it low cost, but it also has a cutout hole in the center for the LED light. We know how it is important for us to be able to walk past an access point and a network engineer or network manager to see that LED in the color of the working color for that model. So it's a great solution where you still can maintain the aesthetics, conceal the deployment, and still see them and manage it from a network perspective and see that LED light. So this is a great solution. And we've seen these where some customers had black ceilings and they wanted to, they can't paint the access point because that avoids a warranty and it also risks damaging the access point, active component. So they'll just take our cap and they put it right over there, and they were able to deploy it in the ceiling, and it blends in with the environment perfectly. So let's transition outside of indoor and go into the outdoor section. Another thing that we are seeing is that companies, universities, and municipalities, they need to extend Wi-Fi from indoor to outdoor. This is becoming a common practice, especially in high density environments. And I like to think of universities and campuses and corporate campuses as a perfect example of this. They not only want to deploy it outdoors, and not only is it expected, but they also need to maintain aesthetics from an outdoor environment perspective. So I was recently at a public park, and I got a notification on the SSID login to their Wi-Fi connection. And it just goes to show that people are expecting outdoor coverage, even in the city parks as well. So this is a perfect example. And here at Ventev, we understand how important aesthetics are in public settings. So we're going to continue our discussion today, and we're going to focus on the next section, outdoor solutions for aesthetics. Concealed antennas outdoors. Now that's a tricky one. When you deploy an outdoor solution, you might think automatically, I need to deploy an outdoor rated access point that is going to be strapped to a pole somewhere, and it may have a very large form factor, and it may have omni antennas, stick antennas directly connected to it, which makes the form factor even larger. And what we're doing is we're actually changing that mentality. And by customers coming to us and users in these environments are asking us, hey, how can I blend in with this outdoor furniture, if you will? So we've developed a full lineup of outdoor lighting antennas. These were highly customized solutions that we brought to market, and they transform outdoor lighting into Wi-Fi antenna solutions. And so it gives you a concealed deployment and allows you to get high performance Wi-Fi from an omni antenna or patch antenna need. So it's a great solution. And there are various designs to fit new and also existing infrastructure. So we also have them for a variety of solutions like LED light globes, HID light globes. We also can put antennas on top of light poles or bollards. So this is a great solution that we offer, set of solutions that we offer that enable you to transform outdoor lighting and maintain aesthetics and conceal the solution. Typically, when you deploy a solution like this, your access point is either going to be buried, it's going to fit inside the pedestal or base of the lighting system if there's room, or it's going to be in a NEMA box, in a bush somewhere, or a tree or shrubbery next to the antenna, which is going to be installed into the light pole. So these are different ways we've seen end users, network engineers, and VARs install these solutions. When it comes to the bollard solutions that we offer, we have an antenna that we've created that actually goes inside various different bollards in the market. And this antenna is an omnidirectional antenna, and it installs right inside that bollard. It also can go through concrete. We've developed the gain so that the antenna is able to penetrate concrete in a way that's still going to enable great coverage in this outdoor environment. Typically, when we deploy these solutions, again, the AP is buried underground or near shrubbery, and the antenna's leads are connected to that under the ground with underground cabling. So, very unique solution. And again, think outdoor campus, think parks, think city parks and theme parks, things of that nature, locations like that. These are great fits for those solutions. So when we talk about aesthetics, it doesn't mean always hidden and concealed, but it also could mean smaller form factor. So I talked about the indoor solution earlier with the candy bar antenna, what I like to call a candy bar. So it's reducing the form factor and the size to create low profile antennas that are going to provide the same coverage as the traditional larger antennas. So we're developing smaller form factor antennas, and you can see some of the portfolio that we offer, just a few of them on the bottom. And so when it comes to omnidirectional antennas or patch antennas, we're going to go into some of that product set that you can see to help deploy and maintain that outdoor environment where you can deploy these solutions and minimize the form factor with our solutions. Let's take this for an example. This is what we call our Wi-Fi micro patch kit. This kit has a micro patch antenna. It's a very small antenna. You're talking no more than 4 inches across and in each way, and it comes with a mounting bracket that's articulating, and also includes a bubble enclosure over it. And this solution is one part number. We try to make things easy when we develop these kits for our customers, but this has been quite popular. And we've deployed these in stairwells. We've deployed them in gymnasiums where customers need to protect the AP or want to hide the antenna. And in this solution, the access point, you're probably wondering where is the access points located? And that in these solutions where the customer decides to deploy the solution with the Wi-Fi antenna kit, they've installed the access point on the opposite side of the wall, and they'll drill a hole with conduit to connect the antenna that you see here, the micro patch antenna, through that wall, and that mounting bracket comes with the solution. So it's a very unique solution, but reducing the form factor is a great way to help conceal the solution, and also the bubble enclosure enables you to protected as well. Painting antennas. This is a common question that we get. Our customers often ask us, can we paint your antennas? Can we paint your enclosures? Can we, hide them even further if we don't want, if we just need some directional coverage, but to help blend them in the environment outdoors? And the answer to that is absolutely. We are an advocate for this method. It's a very low-cost method to help hide the solution, especially if you can't use a smaller form factor solution, and you need to use a traditional high-gain omni or directional antenna. If you notice the picture on the left, our customer painted 2 directional patch antennas, the similar color to the brick wall on the outside. And on the right, there's an omni antenna that's painted the same color as the wall as well. So the main thing that you want to be sure here is before you go down this road is we do not paint them for you. This is something that you would do yourself as a network engineer, or have a company do that for you, or a VAR or something like that. But the thing is, you want to remember here is you want to use non-metallic paint here. So as long as it's non-metallic paint, paint away. Let's move on and let's talk about, as we continue on to the outdoor conversation, enclosures. Sometimes you got to put an access point inside an enclosure. Enclosures have been around forever, and so what we've done is, how do we make our enclosure different from everything else on the market? So one, our enclosures are paintable. They're polycarbonate NEMA 4X outdoor rated, so you can spray wash them down and things like that. The great thing about this solution is if you look at the front door of the enclosure in the photo, you'll notice that it has a contoured door cover. That contoured curved cover gives it a more aesthetically pleasing enclosure option than a standard box. And this solution has stainless steel latches to prevent rust. And we also have solutions where you can order the enclosure with a built-in antenna. On the right side, you can see that we have an omni antenna, and these enclosures have built-in they have the built-in antenna, and they also have the built-in back plate. So all you have to do is plug your AP, plug and play AP solution. You can put your AP and mount it right directly to the mounting plate inside, and mount the leads. If you're going to buy the one with the antenna built into it, you can mount the leads and connect them directly to the access point. So it's a great solution. These also come in many different flavors. We have NEMA boxes with the solid door that you see here. We also have them with clear doors and latch locks or key locks, and also fully integrated solutions that we're going to talk about next. So sometimes if you want to deploy outdoor solution, customers have taken an indoor access point, placed it inside a PoE NEMA enclosure with a heated and cooled, temperature controlled and rated solution enclosure. And this product has a built-in fan and also heat elements inside it. So that way it'll maintain the operating temperature of the indoor access point inside in an outdoor setting. So it's a great solution. And some customers ask me, or VARs or network engineers ask me or us, they ask us, why are you going to do that? Why don't you just use an outdoor access point? Because that's what the outdoor is intended for. And that's absolutely right. Sometimes the customer or end user doesn't have the budget to purchase an outdoor access point. So in this scenario, they may use an indoor access point in this scenario, and it's able to save them some cost. So this is a very reliable solution. Not only is this for indoors, we've had customers come to us and say, hey, we're going to deploy Wi-Fi in a freezer room. How can you help us deploy so we don't have to drill conduit through a freezer room and risk losing money from a air conditioning and freezer room area? And so what we've done is we actually have a similar solution with a heated plate so you can deploy inside freezer rooms. It's a great solution. Again, we have a variety of different PoE NEMA enclosure options for whatever access point and whatever environment you're deploying. So as we close here, this is by no means everything Ventev offers. And what I would encourage you to do is, if you've seen anything that you like here today, or you want more information on, or a spec sheet, you can go to www.ventev.com/infra, and you can find all the solutions and more. So on our website, I encourage you to do that. I also want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter, and we also put solutions out there that you can see, and also people come to us on Twitter and they engage with us and ask us about certain solutions or deployments. And so we have a very good Twitter handle at Ventev. So please go follow us on Twitter. And I saved the best for last. I want you guys to remember that we are extremely excited to sponsor and be a sponsor for CWNP's Wi-Fi Trek. And this is one of the industry leading events in Wi-Fi. And if you are not familiar with this conference, you definitely want to be. If you're not familiar with it, please visit the website conferences.cwnp.com. There you're going to find all the information. This year, I believe it is in San Diego at the Hilton Bayfront. It's from October 14th to 19th. So we're coming up really close to that. And I want you guys to go and register if you haven't already. You want to get and reserve your spot there. So it's going to be an awesome time. There's going to be boot camps. There's going to be conference time. I mean, networking up the wazoo. So I'm very excited about it. Thank you, CWNP, for allowing us to sponsor the event. We thank you, Tom, for allowing us to be a part of this webinar. And if you guys need any information, please go to conferences.cwnp.com. Get more info. Register ASAP. You don't want to miss this, guys, in October. I want to see you there. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.
Excellent. And we're going to take just a few minutes to answer some questions momentarily. But first of all, I wanted to make sure you had the chance to tell them the actual Twitter handles. I think the company has two. I don't know if one of them is focused on the Wi-Fi gear and the other is something else. But if you want to share the actual Twitter handle so they can follow you.
Yes, absolutely. So the Twitter handle is going to be at Ventev Infra. That's at Ventev Infra, VENTEVINFRA, at Ventev Infra. You follow at Ventev Infra, and I really appreciate that clarification, Tom.
Absolutely. And also, you know, Twitter is a great place to be for Wi-Fi people. You get a lot of information out there. And you get it from the vendors such as yourself. You get it from the different experts in the community. And one of the things about the wireless community that has just really impressed me in the dozen or so years that I've been heavily around it is that they care about each other and they help each other and they work with each other. There's not that competitive nature that tends to be in a lot of the industry. Of course, we've always got some like that, but by and large, everybody's very willing to help each other. So it's a great place to be. Let's take a look at any questions we might have here and see if we can get these people some good answers to their questions. All right. So first of all, question, do the AP covers and caps used while you have an external antenna in place, such as the gym? So the AP covers and caps with an external antenna. I guess they're asking if you have an AP with external antennas, do you have covers or caps for those?
So if we have an AP, so if you have an AP with antennas, do we have covers or caps for the AP with the antenna?
Yeah, I think that's what they're asking. I'm not sure when you would need that because you'd probably hide the AP and run to an antenna that itself is aesthetically pleasing. But we'll see if they have. He says in the gym.
In the gym,
he clarifies that.
Okay, in the gym. So in a gym setting, so if you're going to deploy an access point with antennas. And you want to, I would assume it would be more for a protection standpoint, protecting the access point. We do have, in this scenario, we typically recommend a enclosure to house the access point and the antenna. So one of those NEMA enclosures that I was speaking of before would be a great way to one, conceal the solution, and also house the access point and the antenna. Obviously, it depends on which antenna you would be using. If you're using a dipole, the standard, what I call rubber duck antennas, then you can easily fit that in one of our enclosures. If you're using a different antenna, like a patch antenna and or a omnidirectional, then we would have to look at the form factor and determine if that would be able to fit in an enclosure. In a gymnasium setting, I typically recommend an enclosure. So that's my answer on that, Tom.
Okay, excellent. Also, do your antennas work with Cisco Meraki APs?
Wonderful question. Absolutely. Our antennas, we have a full deck for Meraki, and we work with Meraki extremely well. So absolutely, yes. We are vendor agnostic. Okay. We work with every OEM in the market.
Excellent. Another questioner wants to know if you have a distributor in the Netherlands or Europe, and if so, do they sell your Venvolt battery packs?
That's one thing we didn't talk about since we're not doing survey webinar, so site survey webinar. Yeah. So the answer is we sell globally through distributors. I can get that information to see, yes, we can sell you a Venvolt, number one, and two, yes, we can ship and send to the Netherlands. So I can get that information to you, Tom, so you can hand out to that person who asked that. I'd love to definitely help them get that. So yes, the answer is we do distribute to the Netherlands through a distributor, and I can find that information out after the webinar.
Okay, excellent. And actually, make it a little bit even easier for you. Is there an email address that they can use to contact support there at Ventev with a question like that about how to locate a distributor or something?
Absolutely. If you contact our general email is sales@ventev.com, sales@ventev.com, then you will get our entire inside sales support team who can guide you to the international procurement channel.
Okay, excellent. Very good. Well, that's all the questions that we have at this point in time. So let me just reiterate that the webinar will be archived on YouTube at the CWNP TV channel. And we thank Ventev very much for participating here in the week of webinars. I know I was very interested in several of the things that I saw for the first time actually today. So some really good products and resources there. And I encourage everybody to check out their website, check them out on Twitter. Make sure that you contact sales@ventev.com with any questions you have about how to get your hands on some of this stuff, and proceed further with any needs that you might have. So once again, Dan, thank you very much for being with us today. And I look forward to meeting with the Ventev folk at the conference again. And I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Tom. Have a great one.
Absolutely.
Goodbye.
Take care. Goodbye, everyone.
Yes, sir.